100 days to go to the World Cup.
Exciting.
You looking forward to it?
In 100 days, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to get out there?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to go out. Got some work officially with Societe Generale there, but more so just getting around. I remember the atmosphere of 2007, even though it wasn't a successful one for us. The actual World Cup, the way it was done was unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, you're hoping to get up there?
Yeah, I think I'm hoping to get up there with a tour group, actually, through Rugby Australia. But other than that, I think it's going to be the closest World Cup as far as how competitive it's going to be. Teams like Ireland, France, South Africa, the All Blacks. There's almost a bunch of teams that you could pick to win it. Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about the teams essentially that you wouldn't necessarily associate being favourites. Like Ireland's the #1 team in the world. You've got France as well. The Box being the current world champion. So I'm really looking forward to the rugby as much as I am the experience, obviously, going to one now, not being a player.
Well, let's have a little look at the pools we've got. So, Pool A, New Zealand, France, Italy, Uruguay, and Namibia. And first game of the tournament, opening game, New Zealand, France.
Unreal. Yeah, New Zealand, France, opening game. Both teams obviously targeting it for obvious reasons. They think whoever wins that will probably finish first and the other one second. So I'm anticipating it being a close game, but New Zealand as well, after their tour at the end of last year, you can just see them starting to build, and it's almost like, it seems strange, but the All Blacks are under the radar a little bit, like people aren't expecting as much, which I think is very silly. But yeah, it's a cracking way to start.
Yeah. Do we see in that pool any chance of Italy getting ahead of one of the two top dogs?
Oh, look, I can't see it. They obviously had a good result against the Wallabies last season, but like Gitz is saying, for some reason, New Zealand's sort of being written off a bit, and I think that's a dangerous prospect. And France are just too good. I don't think France are the type of team, being at home, they're very passionate people. This particular French team looks like they enjoy walking towards that pressure, and so I don't see Italy taking one of those scalps. The interesting thing will be, if you look back to 2019, New Zealand beat South Africa in that first encounter. South Africa goes on to win the World Cup. It'd be interesting to see if how that plays out again between potentially France and New Zealand moving forward into the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, well, what do you do there? Because you want to start the tournament well, but potentially you could be playing them again. So do you hold a couple of moves or strategies, or do you think too far ahead, or you just got to focus on that game? So yeah, it will be interesting.
We saw that 2011, France and New Zealand, same pool. New Zealand belted France in the pool stages by 20, 30 points. Played again in the final when it was 8-7.
Well, I think the thing with that is, as the tournament goes on, eventually the teams that get to the pointy end, the final, the semi-finals, they get better and better and better, and that's essentially the idea. Like, we were fortunate in 2015 to go to the final. You obviously in 2003 as well. Your game gets better and better and better. You build more cohesion and more understanding with your teammates. So if they do meet again, I'd probably imagine it'd be the same situation, right, where it'll be a much closer fought contest, if it's not the first time.
I think they also lost to Tonga in France, didn't
France did, yeah.
Yeah, they lost twice.
That's what I mean. They still made it to the final. So with the French, you never know what you're going to get. Like, they can be a 10 out of 10. They could be a 2 out of 10. But I think, like Willie was saying, this French group in particular, they seem to thrive on that pressure. And when expectations high, lately they've been delivering. They've been playing good rugby. A lot of their players have been super successful in the club European competition, which is as close to the test arena as you can get. So they're used to winning. It's like it's a habit for them. So yeah, I think this French team is obviously very different.
Yeah, and that arena, Stade de France, it's going to be probably quite one-sided, I imagine, and that opening game, French fans facing off against New Zealand. Do you get sort of, I mean, as loud, as aggressive a crowd like that anywhere else?
Well, they're like, we played there a couple of times. They're incredibly passionate people. I remember we played there in 2010. We ended up beating the French team.
50.
Yeah, 60. No, we put 60 on them. It was 60 to 20. But when the game was in the balance and there was a contest, like, they're singing, they're passionate, they're very, very, very loud. But the moment you start to gain some momentum, and like, we were fortunate, we started to dominate, it's dead silent. So
except for the occasional whistle. If you're hearing the whistle, it means almost like that's almost abuse at their players, at the home players. So if you start to hear that whistle and you're a foreigner or you're not the home side, you're doing well.
Yeah. We'll move on to Pool B, headed up by South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, Tonga and Romania.
That's a tough pool. Like,
Ireland, they're playing some good rugby. I feel like they've got their timing right for the first time. Usually they
you
peak.
think so?
Well, they usually peak the year before, so it's kind of they have a lot of confidence. You look at how well Leinster's playing at the moment, which has the bulk of their team. So if you look at that correlation from a club point of view, I feel like they've got their timing right. They're number one in the world. The club team's performing well. Sexton's obviously still playing some great rugby. So this is the best chance I think that Ireland's had ever. So
See, I kind of worry about them. I always think that they tend, in the last couple of cycles anyway, they peak probably just before or around it, and then for whatever reason, tournament-style football, they probably don't play their best rugby. And you touched on Sexton, but he's been out for a while now, and he's probably only coming back. I don't know if they've got warm-up games or if he'll even be right for those. He won't have played much in the lead-up to it. He's experienced and he's played in however many World Cups, but you still need that sort of match fitness. I'm a little bit like touch and go with him.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon South Africa probably tops that pool. They seem to play rugby that's very conducive to tournament-style footy, where let's just play percentages, set piece, kick contest game, physical line speed, pull
We've got
pressure.
a game that just wins a game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it'd be a tough pool though. Scotland are coming good, like you said as well.
Yeah. Yeah, who else were you saying? Tom was in
They've
there?
got Charles Piutau, Izzy
Israel.
Folau.
Yeah. I think they've got the ability to knock off a team, definitely. But whether consistently they have that, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the underdog winning. I think they've got the ability to knock off a big team.
I think a challenging thing for them too, if this will be to find a good 10, a good playmaker. I think you've got all these incredible athletes like your Fekitoas, your Piutaus, your Falaus, but the idea of getting someone in that number 10 position, essentially to be able to put them in positions to be able to express their talents and their abilities, because they'll be physical, they'll turn up, they'll be passionate, but it's about, again, tournament-style football, making sure you're utilising those assets in the right way in the right parts of the field. So I think that'll be a challenge for them.
For you guys, South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, top three in that pool based on seeding. Who do you see going through?
I reckon South Africa tops it, and then Ireland second.
Yeah, I think potentially Ireland go through as top and South Africa.
Move on to Pool C. Wales, Australia, Fiji, Georgia and Portugal.
I reckon we've hit the jackpot with the pool that we're in.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like Wales traditionally, obviously, quality top-tier nation, but as of late, they probably haven't been playing as well as they would have liked to. A lot of turmoil within their union, and just, possibly that's affected, but they just haven't been playing well. So we're a real good chance at topping that Pool C, I think. And I think moving further into competition, we probably don't face the likes of whether it's South Africa, New Zealand or France until potentially the semi-final. So I reckon we're a bit of a dark horse moving into the tournament.
I actually think it'll probably be. I love the Welsh, love the Valleys, but I think for me, I actually think Australia and Fiji will go through.
Fiji is certainly one of those teams that are growing and progressing nicely, and good consistent footy with the draw. Like you look at the draw, like
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
those
exactly what I was
players.
going to say. Yeah,
A lot of those players are getting good consistent rugby now at Super Rugby level and performing. Like they beat the Hurricanes, they've beaten the Crusaders. Then you sprinkle in the guys like Radradra from overseas and Tuisova from overseas.
The bus, yeah.
Yeah, actually, wow, they'll be tough for us, I think, actually.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, even way back in the day, if you could beat Fiji by you beat the game 50-10, but the next day you feel like you've just been run over by a truck. Like they're always a hard game.
Yeah.
So especially for a smaller player, they ask so much of you. And now, as you say, you touched on it with the Drua playing Super Rugby, they're now starting to get more game control, game knowledge, not just from a sevens and being entertaining. They're now understanding how to control the game, the tempo. They'll be dangerous.
So, Willie, you think Australia, Wales to go through?
No, I'm going to say Australia, Fiji. I'm with you. Yeah.
Pool D, England, Japan, Argentina, Samoa and Chile.
That seems like a pretty wide open pool, I'd have to say. Right? Like Japan could potentially top it.
Yeah.
I mean, England, new coach, they're obviously trying to build a new culture and environment and probably a game style as far as how they want to play. I think they've mixed and matched their combinations in the last Six Nations and sort of trying to find themselves a little bit. So, whereas Japan, I think, has had great consistency with their coaching staff, with their playing style, how they want to play.
Yeah.
So that possibly gives them an advantage. But yeah, that's an interesting pool. I'd probably say England, maybe, I'm going to say Japan tops it.
Yeah.
And England come in second.
Big call. I think England's obviously not playing their most consistent or best rugby. Samoa against Japan will be an interesting one.
Again, Samoa have a few guys back.
Exactly. They're going to have a few guys back, and just the contrasting styles that they play. One super physical, the other one super fast. So I think England, though, come out of that and they'd probably top it. And then...
Yeah, that Samoa-Japan game would be good. It'd be interesting, like, with the physicality of the Samoans, slow down the pace at which the Japanese team want to play at.
Yeah, and that could be the game also that Samoa would probably target. Oh, Argentina's in this pool too.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even talk about them. And you've got Japan
Yeah,
topping
I
it.
do. Well,
Argentina's playing super rugby. I think Argentina top it. Well, I don't think... I didn't even listen properly, so I didn't even hear Argentina. But Argentina definitely top it. And then any... Oh, wow. That's a tough one. I don't know who comes through second because England's not playing super at the moment.
I reckon Japan top it.
Yeah.
Just because I reckon they've got the game style to be able to beat those other teams. The consistency of culture and environment. And they seem to play really good tournament-based rugby, right?
Czech's got the Argentinians.
Yeah, I know. I love Czech.
Well, it doesn't sound like it.
Well, just because I don't pick his team.
Yeah.
I love Czech. He knows it. Czech, I love you. You know I love you. I'd like to back Japan. I reckon they're a chance of topping that table. And
I'd love to see them do well too. Okay, I'll go Argentina and Japan then.
No, be yourself, mate.
I am going to be myself, but I think if I'm being myself, then I shouldn't be cheering for England. I'm constantly against them, so I'm not going to pick them.
Just looking at that first pool that we talked about, New Zealand, France, which of those two teams tops it?
I don't know. Something doesn't sit well with me not backing the All Blacks. I don't know what it is, but I just know how good France are. So I'm going to go France tops it. France beats the All Blacks and they top that pool.
To pick against New Zealand just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Like, even in my mind, I don't know, they could be 4th or 5th in the world, but just in my mind, I always consider them to be number 1. Like, as in they're the team to beat at every World Cup. Yeah, I think probably historically the French don't start overly well. They'll probably still make it to the final, potentially be playing Australia in the final, but I think New Zealand top the pool, France second.
Yeah. So who are your two finalists for the tournament?
Australia, France.
Yeah, I'm going to go Australia, France as well.
Be your own man.
Huh?
Be your own person.
I
encouraged.
told you off air, so I reckon Australia's
No,
going
you
to win
didn't.
this. I actually honestly believe, I reckon the Wallabies will win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I just feel like we've been written off a bit. Eddie coming in will make a difference. And yeah, I have faith in the boys to be able to take it out.
Who's your number 10 for Australia?
QC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Giteau.
Yeah, I'm the third half. I'll be the number 10 for third half. Quade played super well when he came back, but I thought Bernard Foley did as well. So they're obviously going to be the two guys that Eddie's talking to. He wants that experience around that position. So
I feel like the challenging thing for Eddie as far as who he picks is whether he takes 2 older fly halves and a younger one, or you take an older one and potentially 2 younger ones, if that makes sense. So say, for example, you take Quade, and then you might take Noah Lolosio and Carter Gordon, or you take Quade and Bernard, and you take Carter Gordon. Because essentially then Quade and Bernard play, Carter might play against one of the, let's just say one of the lesser nations, or even just be there to hold pads and learn. But I think that's the dynamic that's going to make it interesting as far as how it goes.
Yeah, potentially you need a versatile.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I suppose Reece Hodge comes into his own. Like, I don't think 10's his position, but at a pinch, if you need to play him in one of those lesser games, he could play 10 there, but then he could also play centre. Like, having that versatility in a 30-man squad's super important. Or do you take 2 halfbacks and then someone that has the ability to play half like in 2015? Like, at a pinch, I was the one that had to cover if we had an injury.
Yeah, in 19 we only took 2 halves as well. Yeah, maybe you take a Quade, or let's just say a Quade or a Bernard and a Hodgie and then a Carter Gordon.
You guys have both lived in France. Any tips for anyone travelling there? Any places to hit up? Definitely
Toulon. Down the south of France, Marseille, Nice, like down that area. You just get yourself a car. At Toulon's probably the best place to rent it. You get it cheap. I know a guy.
We get it. You played for Toulon, and
I know a guy. No, but you could get it
by
there.
Someone over
but
there.
it's just an hour and a half. So from there, you're like an hour and a half drive to Nice, hour drive Marseille. I think it's like 40 minutes Saint-Tropez. That's the place to be. And then finals time, make your way up to Paris.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I was in Paris. I didn't do much travelling outside of that other than footy. So, I mean, you've got the sights, the sounds, restaurants, cafes, Eiffel Tower, good shopping. It's a beautiful city, particularly around the time that the tournament's held there, good weather. So get out there and have a look and enjoy it.
All right, thanks, guys. Looking forward to the World Cup, and hopefully we'll see you up there.
Yep, beautiful.